Kimberly, for reaching out and asking me to do this with you. And thank you so much for having me here. Just like you, I received my training from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition Health Coach training program. And then I further received my certification from International Association for Health Coaches just last year, 2019. And people who know me, they know that I enjoy creative, healthy cooking and outdoor activities. And just becoming an integrative nutrition health coach has also allowed me to combine my passion for health and wellness with my love for helping people reach their health and lifestyle goals. And aside from health coaching, I do cooking classes. Of course, not anymore. I canceled all my cooking classes because of this the COVID-19. I do it web-based these days. So I had private and group cooking classes, and I customize my classes to my clients' needs and diets, whether they're vegan, vegetarian. So, and it's really fun and interactive. I always enjoy doing that as much as health coaching.
Yes, and it's amazing being very interactive and then also being very integrative. That's one thing that I truly loved about IIN was just how integrative it was and what that means is just making it apply to every aspect of your life, not just what you eat and what you do. It's also, your mental, your physical, your functional health.
That's right. That's right. We certainly learned a lot, and we know that everything is connected. Our health is not the only thing that we eat, but it's integrative approach of just looking into all aspects that make up our health, from exercise, from our home environment, from home cooking, our relationships and everything. And actually, those are more important than our eating. Those are primary food, as we call it, right? And whatever we have on our plate is secondary food, as we learned about. But I'm so happy to be here today talking with you about stress, something that most of us are dealing with, especially now that we're faced with this pandemic.
Definitely. And thank you so much for being on here tonight. And for those of you that don't know, my name is Kimberly Anderson. I'm an integrative nutrition health coach as well. So I studied with Annette. We studied at different times, but
let's see.
Sorry, I'm going to mute this person just because there's a lot of background noise. Okay. All right, but we studied at different times, but we both learned about integrative wellness. So just talking about different aspects of health and then how it all is interconnected, and it's more than just the food that you eat and the amount of exercise that you do in order to stay healthy. And so one thing that I truly do with my clients is, I help them connect those dots. I help them understand their puzzle pieces and where they fit in. And also, I also do the meal prepping and then meal cooking, just like you do. So I love, love, love teaching. I've always enjoyed teaching, and I know that that's one thing that I've really enjoyed. And sadly, I have had to move some of that online just because of this pandemic right now. But I truly do love just teaching people how to cook, and then I love making a good, healthy, nutritious meal. And I love your cookbook. It is so amazing. I bought Annette's cookbook, and it has pictures on every single page. I remember right whenever she was about to publish it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. It has beautiful food, and then every single thing she's like, I just think it's so important that whenever you look at a cookbook, you naturally look at the ones that have the pictures, and you naturally want to go to the ones that have the pictures. So you wanted something that had a picture of every single dish that's on there. It's like, this way you know what it's going to look like. So anyway, that's so beautiful. And can you say the name of your cookbook just one more time?
Sure. It's called Annette's Kitchen, Family Food Made Fun and Healthy. And it has 150 recipes, 100 of which are vegan and vegetarian. And there is a note section on the bottom of each recipe, at the end of each recipe, and I have suggestions if somebody is vegan and the recipe calls for meat, what to do to make it vegan or vegetarian. So a lot of information about the ingredients, the health benefits of the ingredients used, and what to pair it with. I kind of put myself with my readers, instead of my reader, and I said what my reader would want to see in this book, and what would they would gravitate towards. So that's how I approached it, and I love pictures. So yes, every recipe has a picture.
That's amazing.
Thank
I am
you.
so
Thank
proud
you
of you for making that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Very
So,
much.
so getting onto our topic, we're going to be talking about stress today. We're going to be talking about the causes, the tendencies, and healthy and unhealthy ways of dealing with stress. And especially with this pandemic going on, I feel like it couldn't be more prevalent to today than, right now. Stress is so just very interactive in our life. Yes, there's good stress, and yes, there's bad stress. Where it becomes bad is whenever it becomes chronic, whenever it becomes too much to the point where it's overwhelming in your life. So whenever we talk about stress, like what causes it? What are some causes that you think, Annette, for you?
Yes. Yes,
Or
going
for
back to
a lot of people.
Yeah, right now, actually, going back to what you just said, that we need stress. Stress can be positive and motivating factor, actually, such as when you're under pressure to perform at work, or you want to ace that exam, or you need that. It makes you alert and attentive, but too much of it, like you just said, it's toxic, it's chronic stress, and that's what most people are facing in our society. We don't have that downtime, that recovery time to recover from stress. And believe it or not, 90% of our doctor's visits are related to conditions caused by stress.
Mm-hmm.
And but our bodies are made such that we can handle stress. That's why we react to it so strongly. And some of the causes, especially now, there are a lot of reasons that where people are under even more stress. I think just financial problems. Some people are facing financial problems just because they're out of job, or their work hours have been cut, and some relationship issues. They're more together at home, and they're they're faced with some issues that they didn't know that it exists, and just a home environment is just different. And of course, nutrition is a big one that causes stress. And right now, people are most of us are going to comfort food, cravings, and it just creates this vicious cycle, because another reason is that we're so down on us most of the time. We have, believe it or not, we have 60,000 thoughts per day, and 80% of which are negative, and 95 they're repetitive. That means exactly the same as the day before. And these thoughts are the negative thoughts, especially. We won't wish for our enemy, even.
Definitely.
But we're telling that to ourselves, like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, I shouldn't have eaten that. I'm so weak. I'm so, ugly, or I don't look good. My hair is, all these negative things we're telling to ourselves. And especially if we're craving for, nutrition-wise, we're so down on us, like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And then that puts the nail in the coffin that you are in this circle of binge eating and you never recover from it. So we have to, I guess we will talk about how healthy way of, dealing with stress later on. But these are some of the things that I think, there are so many others. People are over-exercising, under-exercising, and that causes stress. Or social media and news. I know some people, they have their TVs on the whole day, the entire day. I mean, all these things that you hear subconsciously, even if you're not consciously looking at watching the news, you hear that. It just registers in your brain, and it's just not good. It causes extra stress.
Definitely. I mean, there are
Right?
so many causes of stress, like you had mentioned, your financial situation. If you're out of a job right now, that's going to cause a huge stressor in your relationship with your family, with your financial security, and then also your overall
Yeah.
sense of well-being, because your
Yes,
financial status is literally, that's what grounds you. If you have no money whatsoever, then you don't feel secure, because
exactly.
you're worried about your house payment, or you're worried about bills, or you're worried about this and that and this and that,
Yes,
and
yes.
you feel this restriction, and then you feel that within you. And then
Mhm.
also some other stressors, like you had mentioned, the food, like it causes inflammation. And then also just the stress of not having control. That's something
Yes.
so prevalent in a lot of people, especially that deal with anxiety.
Mm.
I know we had talked about this the other day, but a lot of people that have really bad anxiety, it's very hard for them with dealing with this pandemic, because there's, so much uncertainty. You're like, well, are the COVID cases getting worse? And is this all getting worse? And blah, blah, blah. And there's so much stress around it, because there's so much uncertainty. You don't know what's going to happen next. One day the gym is open, the next day, it's not. And then one day, your kids are going to school, and then the next day you're the teacher, and,
That's true.
there's a lot of uncertainty, and a lot of things that we don't know what's going to happen next. And part of it is just accepting that that's okay. We don't have to know everything, but focus on the things that you can control.
That's right.
And so whenever we move on to tendencies, some tendencies that we have whenever we are stressed, obviously we have our eating habits. That is a huge thing, especially I would say for women. We tend to over or under eat, or binge eat, or emotional eat. We get stressed about our job, and then we're like, man, that cheesecake is looking very good. Or, we have an issue or fight with our spouse, and then it's like, wow, I kind of want to be alone. We want to be secluded.
Yep.
um, or we
Yeah.
like reach towards food for
Yeah.
comfort, to kind of fill that void.
Exactly. I think it's because of we're substituting what we need, our emotional need, with food.
Yes.
And I think when a craving comes, we can just stop and ask ourselves, like, where is this coming from? Where is this craving coming from? What do I really need? Am I craving? And most of the time, actually, when we're dehydrated, we crave food. So the first thing you want to do is just have a couple of cups of water and reassess the situation. Most of the time it's that. But nowadays, of course, we're craving comfort food. So of course it's emotional. And just pausing for 10, there's two things we can do. The first thing is that just pause for 10 seconds if you want to crave something. And then that gives this space and choice for you. And then if you want to go for your craving, okay, go for it. But 1 out of 4 times in the future, you won't go for your craving if you practice this. Just waiting for that 10 second.
Yes, I mean, doing that with intention, and saying like, look, I'm not going to be hateful towards myself and say like, why did you eat that cheesecake? Or why did you eat that brownie? Or, why did you eat that lasagna? I mean,
Yeah,
you don't want to like hate and just be very negative towards yourself, but rather doing it with intention and saying, you know what? um, I really do feel like I deserve this treat at this moment. Or even, with shopping, it's very good to put that into perspective as well. Whenever you're like, if you're getting stressed out, you might overspend at the store. You might all of a sudden want to go on a shopping spree. That's not necessarily my habit, but I know that a lot of my friends, they do that whenever they get really stressed out or angry or whatever. And they feel all these nasty emotions. They're like, oh, I've got to go buy
Yes,
something. And so they go to the store, and it's like, if we just took those few seconds to just slow down, breathe a little
that's
bit and
right.
say, do I need this? Because you also have that buyer's remorse where you're like, wow, I just spent so much money and I don't even need half of this stuff.
That is so true. I have done it, and it's definitely stemming from emotional place. And the second step that I was going to mention, you said it just right. It's the idea of forgiving yourself, even though if you're going for that craving, it's that feeling of down to yourself and kind of harsh and unkind to yourself, that it just puts the nails in the coffin, and we're trapped in this cycle of binge eating. So this forgiveness of yourself plants the seed for the new behaviors. And you said it right, exactly. So these two are so important because we're human. We will crave food. I mean, there were times that I have done the same, but I have forgiven myself. I love ice cream and I will have it sometime. It's okay.
And
So,
another important aspect to point out about cravings is a lot of times we look at cravings as though it's very negative. It's a negative connotation. You know, you hear cravings and you're like, oh, I'm having these bad cravings. And, not cravings aren't necessarily always bad. Like, yes, whenever we have cravings, we typically reach for more comfort foods. However, they can tell us a lot about ourselves. They can tell us if we're deficient in certain nutrients. They can tell us if there's something going on in our life. If we're letting emotions get the best of us or stress get the best of us, that really shows up and is prevalent in those cravings.
that is
It's like
so
if you're
true.
really craving a lot of chocolate and a lot of very highly like sugary and fatty foods,
Hmm.
maybe it's because you just had your menstrual cycle. Maybe
Exactly.
there's some balancing that needs to happen as well.
Yes, definitely
So it
hormonal
tells you a lot.
imbalance.
Yeah, so it tells you a lot about your body and a lot about maybe your stress, like your stress patterns and then your sleep patterns, and it tells you just a lot about yourself. So not necessarily the answer isn't necessarily just to like push those away and say like resist those cravings, but rather just listen to them and
That's
figure
true.
out, why am I craving this?
That's right. Like eating so many meals, like warming meals,
Hmm.
that sets your craving for salad. Some, yin yang, like they
Hmm.
say. So to balance your, body, and that's right. Or there are so many reasons. I mean, we crave different food in summertime and different foods in wintertime. Exactly.
Hmm.
Um,
And whenever we talk about, okay, so kind of the last aspect is like the healthy and unhealthy ways of dealing with stress. So whenever we talk about unhealthy ways of dealing with stress, obviously we know some major things like stimulants, alcohol, drugs, highly caffeinated drinks, things of that nature. But what are some other unhealthy ways of dealing with stress? I know we talked about isolation the other
Yes,
day.
definitely. Yeah, the people isolate themselves. They shut down. If there is especially issues in their relationship, I've known some people that they just shut down and they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to get in touch with their emotions, and that's the last thing you want to do. You want to
Mhm.
communicate with, your partner, and and see what is the root cause of the problem. And everything is there's a solution to everything. And letting your emotions control you, that's another thing. And some people lash out because of stress, and that certainly is an unhealthy way of dealing with it. They put people around them, at harm's way, and kind of emotional abuse, which is, of course, not right. And what are some other things? Some people over exercise. or under-exercise in order to deal with their stress. They say, oh, if I over-exercise, that I'm gonna, just have that stress out of my system. Or they over or undereat, or they try to do too much at one time. Like you said in one of our talks, your cup has to be full, right? Is that what you said? Yeah, some people are like that, and they have this long to-do list, and unfortunately, that sets us for failure. It is so much better to concentrate on one or two tasks a day, and if you fulfill that, you will feel this empowered and kind of self-confident. And it sets the path for success, as opposed to having this long to-do list and so many unimportant tasks, are there amongst, the important ones. Then why don't we just get rid of them? Just cross them out from your list and concentrate on one or two tasks. That would be the healthy way of dealing with stress, not overwhelming. And sometimes so much to-do list, long to-do list, is just you're overwhelmed and you just give up and not do anything.
And not accomplish anything.
Right?
That happens so often,
Yeah,
where
you're
we
like, oh
create
my
this
gosh,
long to-do list,
that's
and then
it.
at the
Yeah,
end of the day, we don't do anything. We're like, oh, I'm so exhausted from
not
just
at
running all
all.
over the place.
Exactly. So, and there is that big rock and little rock analogy that, your important tasks are the big ones, big rocks. So fill your jar with the big rocks first, and then the little rocks will have space in between those. But if you do the other way, then the big rocks, the important, tasks, they won't have a place for it. And you will feel just unaccomplished, and just all these, negative thoughts will just come come to you. So
Definitely.
yeah.
And like we were talking about with unhealthy ways of dealing with stress, a lot of people, they do shut down. They totally isolate themselves, or they distance themselves, maybe from their partner, or maybe from their friends, or maybe even from their job. They kind of emotionally and sometimes even physically disconnect from other people. And that's not always negative. Yes, there are times that we need isolation. Yes, there are times that we need to be alone, and we need to kind of step away and have that distance. But during times of stress, there are also times that you need that support, you need that love, or that extra hug, or that extra boost of confidence from a friend or your partner, or maybe you just need to really hone in on your job as well.
Yeah.
So another unhealthy way of dealing with stress is not just, isolating yourself, but obviously with overstimulating yourself, drinking way too much just to feel something, or just to kind of forget about the stress that you have going on,
Which
just
is
kind of neglect it.
Yeah, which is so
Rather than
temporary.
addressing it. Yes,
Yep.
definitely. And so what we were talking about with healthy ways of dealing with stress is definitely, meditating. It's taking the time to just slow down. I know there's a lot of misconceptions about what is meditation, but really it's just taking the time to slow down, taking the time to breathe, and taking the time to just kind of address where you are in this present moment.
Yes.
What am I feeling right now? How am I feeling?
Mm-hmm.
And why am I feeling this way? What's the origin of right now?
That's very
As
true.
in, if I'm
Yes.
stressing out about work, and if I'm feeling distant from my partner, maybe I need to address, okay, well, where did all this start? Earlier, this started whenever I was having lunch,
Mm-hmm.
and my partner sent me this message, and then I got irritated about it, and blah blah blah. Just understanding where all of that came from. Why did I react that way? And why did I interpret his words that way? Things of that nature. Just truly questioning, why do I feel this way, and
Mm-hmm.
how do I feel?
Yes, and you have to be very aware of yourself and your surroundings to ask those questions. And many people are not, unfortunately. And meditation, like you said, it's a wonderful way um, to let go of the stress. And um, some people say, okay, I've heard meditation is good, but why? Well, what happens in meditation? Some people, most people, I think, when they know the why behind it, what happens, they're more likely to do it. So what happens is that if you practice meditation on a daily basis, you will reach a state that it's called trance state, and it's very much mimicking the deep sleep state. So you are, in that kind of a state, and that is where your, stress hormones get metabolized, and that's why your stress hormone, which is cortisol, drops. And that's why meditation is helpful. And I've heard from so many people that they say, oh, I cannot focus. I have these thoughts going in my head, and the thoughts are part of the process, right? They are not obstacles. And some people think that they are problems. They're obstacles. They're not letting me concentrate, but that's okay. It's very, again, we have to be kind to ourselves and kind of notice the thoughts as they come, just like clouds. Notice them and let them go. Don't judge yourself. So all these things, of course, it's good to know and good to practice these things. I was one of them, in the beginning, that I was like, how can I meditate? I'm thinking, I'm thinking,
How can I slow down?
right? How can I do this? But, knowing these things, every time I practiced one aspect of it, every time I gave myself the space. You have to be patient with yourself. That is one thing that I learned throughout these years. I was one of those, perfectionists, and just not slowing down and pushing my body where I wanted to go. But you have to listen to your body. You have to be patient with yourself. So that's something that I've learned throughout these 3 years, last 3 years of my life. And it has given me and brought so much happiness and solace in my life, I have to say. So it's so important. So this is one of the healthy ways, like you said, meditation. Another way is journaling. Some people like writing, and just write down what the good things that are in your life, what you're doing better today. That's gratitude, right?
I mean, definitely with journaling, I mean, that relates back to your point earlier about the many thoughts that we have throughout the day. Many of them are repeated from yesterday. The things that we're stressed about yesterday, we're still thinking about today. And one thing that journaling does, and as well as meditation, but definitely journaling, because you have a judgment-free zone. No one's going to read your journal unless you like leave it out in the open, like, please read me, you know. um, you can just write out all of the things that you're feeling, all the things that you're thinking, the things, just your
That's so
pure
true.
and raw emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely do it whenever I'm kind of half asleep, either in the middle of the night, or I do it early in the morning, and it
Yes.
helps you release all of those nasty feelings, nasty emotions, negative thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Mm-hmm.
helps you start your day kind of with like just a blank canvas, just a
Yes.
new day. And definitely in relation to stress, the thing that meditation and journaling do is they take you out of this stressor, fight or flight zone. They take you out of that red zone and they bring you back to balance. They bring you back to this green zone where you're able to breathe. Your body is able to restore. And like you had mentioned with, it kind of brings you into a deep sleep type state. Um, Whenever it's doing that, it's allowing you to get into that restorative state. where your body's actually able to heal. Because if it's constantly inflamed, if you have chronic inflammation, either in your stomach or in your cells or, in your arms, in your face, showing up in different forms like of acne or like a rash on your skin or, weight gain or things of that nature. Or even like ankle pain or swelling, all of those are different types of like inflammation in your body. And whenever you have that, you can't heal. If you're constantly stressed out and you have this chronic stress, you can't actually heal because you're in this state of, I am fighting for my life. That's what your body is reacting to. That's how it interprets it.
That's right. That's very, very true. And it is the same thing that you said about acne or all these rashes. And most people go to doctor and they, mask these problems instead of going to the root cause of, okay, let's see what is causing it. And stress is a definite something that we have to address definitely. And another way that we can address stress is by grounding practices. Our bodies are bioelectric. That means believe it or not, we emit 100 watts of energy, and that equals to light a light bulb. So by grounding ourselves, by walking on ground, bare feet, or on the sand, we can get the electric energy from Earth. And I had heard this before, but I was like, okay, how does this happen? How does this work? So what happens is that now our red blood cells, they get electrically, the electrons get electrically charged, negatively charged. And they're like two magnets that they have the same charge holding it together. What happens? They repel each other. Well, that's exactly what happens in our cells, and they repel each other, and therefore the blood flow starts increasing and our muscles are getting more blood flow, therefore more oxygen. That's how grounding practices help our bodies kind of de-stress, muscles get more energy, and
it just feels so amazing, just like putting your feet in the water and then just feeling the sand in your feet, the softness of it, as long as it is not scorching hot and burning your feet,
Yes. And believe it or not, they have calmed down colicky babies. They have put them on the ground, and within 1 minute they were calm and quiet. So it's a powerful healing modality, really. And another thing I was going to touch upon, it was in the news in Iceland. They said that now that you can't hug a person, go hug a tree, because
we all need to become tree huggers.
Just hug the tree and hold on to it, and you'll see how much of this nature's goodness you're gonna have, and it's just wonderful for us. Nature is just an amazing thing. And another thing I was reading the other day, forest bathing, that has originated in Japan. So what they did, they had some people, they were willing to do this experiment. So before the experiment, before the forest walking, which is like an hour or two of walking in the forest and getting all these essential oils from the trees and all these, everything, in the nature that you walk. Before that, they had measured their stress hormone, and then after that, they measured it, and they found out how much their stress hormone cortisol had decreased. So it's amazing. And in nature, it doesn't cost anything. We don't have to spend so much money to, bring all these healing energies into our lives. People think that they have to spend so much money. They have to go to the gym. They have to, have these expensive equipments. No, it's very simple. Just go to the nature. Go to the beach if you are close. Forest, hiking, all these stuff, we have it in our fingertips. And it's really a shame if we don't expose ourselves in this um, powerful, we're part of something this bigger and sustained by this force that is greater than us. So
Definitely. And so with healthy ways of dealing with stress, I mean, everybody is so unique. I mean, you and I both went to Institute for Integrative Nutrition, where we talked about, the uniqueness of every single person. A one size fits all thing is not going to work for everyone. One thing that works for Annette, for you, is not necessarily going to work for me. Some aspects might work for me, but not everything to its entirety. So for some people, dealing with stress will mean, journaling. For some, it will mean meditating. Some it will mean singing, and some it's talking to a friend. Some people it's going out into nature. Some people it's acupuncture, getting massage, or going out and spending some money, or whatever it is for you specifically that works for you. It's finding that thing. Not everybody is a runner. Not everybody is like a big weightlifter or whatever, everybody has different aspects that they enjoy. And it's just finding ways to deal with stress in a healthy way that's not mind altering in terms of overstimulating. Things that will bring you out of that stressor, that fight or flight mode, and just put you into a deep restorative energy where you're able to just, your body is able to truly cope, and it's able to heal, and it's able to help itself, because you're taking yourself out of this zone, this like nasty, like, your body's freaking out, to all of a sudden, your body's healing, it's doing better. You're not stressed about everything. You're not overwhelmed about everything. Your job doesn't seem as overwhelming. Your relationship doesn't seem as overwhelming. Your friendships don't seem as overwhelming. The kids running around all over the house don't seem as overwhelming, because it's like, I have this peace within me because I found out what works for me. And that's so important. So just kind of some lasting thoughts is mostly just to slow down, breathe. Whenever you feel stressed, just slow down, breathe, go out into nature, or do what works for you. For me personally, I love going out into nature, and I love hiking. I love feeling the waterfall and feeling like the water, feeling the grass on my feet, and just like, just soaking in nature. And just also to eat real food and drink water. And those are just some basic concepts that we hear many times, but we also kind of just neglect the basics, and we look for the next big diet or the next big thing. But those are the most basic aspects. And what are some lasting thoughts that you have to say?
Yes, one thing that I wanted to touch upon is sleep. Sleep is very, very important. And
yes.
Again, one of the basic things that we can do, we need 7 to 9 hours of sleep as adults. And it is very healing. I cannot say enough about it. And another thing that I wanted to mention, just the last comment, is that this is a foggy road that we are on. It seems that way. We don't know what future holds, and it's okay not to plan ahead. None of us can do that. What we see is just what's in front of our eyes, and it's okay to just concentrate, just focus on 1 week or 1 day or even 1 morning, and just see what you can focus on, what you can accomplish that morning, and just put one foot in front of another, and the greater path will become clearer one day. We're all in this together, and we have to accept the situation that we're in. This is the first step in, I think, having that happiness, and just be patient with ourselves and listen to our bodies.
Definitely, and that's so beautiful. And I definitely agree with everything that you just said. I mean, it's so important for us to get sleep. It's so important for us to just check in and focus on what can we do now? You know, what can I do now in this very moment, rather than, oh gosh, you know, I've got this big project that I'm working on at work, or I've got this and that and this and that, you know, focusing on a million things, just like narrow it down. So just some, you know, lasting thoughts, just slow down, be present, understand what you're feeling, where you're at in this moment, and focus on that. Yes, obviously think ahead and plan ahead, but don't focus so much on that that you forget this. You know, you forget you in this
That's
current
true.
moment.
Yes, very important.
So again, these are just some ways that we can deal with stress in a healthy way, by meditation, by breathing, by drinking water, by eating real food, all of these aspects. But thank you so much, Annette, for coming on
Oh,
here, and thank you to everyone else that is on here as well. I know I
thank
didn't
you.
really like talk to you guys, but thank you guys so much for coming on here, and we will post this recording on Facebook if you kind of joined in later. But I hope you guys
Thank
all
you.
have a wonderful night.
Thank you, Kimberly, and thank you everybody who joined in.
Thank you so much, ladies. Stay well.
Thank you,
Really
you too.
appreciate it. Thank you. Bye-bye.